Okay, I want to welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Kevin Dagger Experiment. I am your host, Kevin Dagger, and this week we have a very interesting person on the show. He has been very generous with his time with us. He is in very high demand because of his field, and it's for very good reason. He is a psychic medium, and his name is Paul Cosino. Paul, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good myself. Thank you. So I ran across you on Facebook. A coworker of
Mhm.
mine shared one of your posts, and I've always had not curiosity, but I've always been interested in the world of spirits and paranormal. I've had my own paranormal experiences, but I've never had a chance to actually sit down and talk with an expert in the field. So I'm very happy to have you here. I just wanted to know at what age did you begin? Did you notice that you had this gift? And what was like your first experience with the spirit world, if we can call it that?
I was born with this, believe it or not. I know there are mediums that will say they're born with it, but I don't believe everybody's born with this gift. Um, I think certain people are born, and I believe everybody's born to be psychic, but not everybody's born to be a medium, if that makes sense. So the first I know is my mom, before she passed away, she told me that even as a baby, I would be entertained by something that wasn't there all the time. I would always be looking in the sky. But my whole life, I've always been what you want to call haunted by things I couldn't explain, saw things I couldn't explain. Um, I guess as far as I can remember, I'd always hear a man's voice call my name. And it was in my inner ear. It wasn't like whispering or anything. And then I would stop and stop playing with my friends or whatever I was doing. And sometimes I would say what. But I learned not to, not to talk to it or tell anybody because I would think I was nuts even as a little kid. And I remember as far as 4 or 5 is when that was going on until about age 9. Well, there was a time when my mom, I had a single mom, so I was living in a town called Great Falls, Montana, and I was in the backyard. It was summertime, and I was just waiting for my mom to come home. And there was a typical white van story. Comes up, and the lady pulls up, and she points at me, and she goes, "That's him. He's the one." Well, she climbs up, to this cement stairs, opens up the fence, and as when she did that, she went to reach for me, and when she did, that voice came, and it said, "Paul, run now." And what I look back on that day is it actually saved my life. Like I think all those voices were trying to keep me so they can be aware of what's going to be coming up. That makes sense. So as a curious boy, when that happened, I looked around the corner to see where she was, and she was cussing at the guy at the van. I think that was her husband, and she was saying that she got pushed, and he's telling her to get in the car or in the van. So but they drove around the block 4 or 5 times, but I just kept going back and forth, hiding from them. But I don't know how to explain it. I've seen good stuff. I've seen bad stuff. But to me, this is like normal. And other people, they would consider that, when they first see stuff like that or have experiences, they freak out.
So when you see when you get in contact with the spirit, I mean, I'm not talking about readings, just like your everyday, like at home or if you're out. Do they look like normal people, like they're there, or do they seem like transparent to you? Is there can you? Well, obviously you can tell the difference by now. But how do they seem to you?
So when I see them, you see me okay? There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There's different kinds of mediumship out there. And I took a course. It was called Spiritual Development. And what I have is called automatic reading. Automatic writing. And then I also got mental mediumship. Sorry. Oh boy, I'm trying to think here. I'm talking too fast. I got trying to think. I'm a trance medium, and once I start going to that, then I start getting the mental mediumship. But I do automatic writing, which is scribbles, and that's how I get my messages. Now, once I start going into that, the mental mediumship starts kicking in, and then I'm able to see people from the other side, and I give the reader validation of what they look like, and sometimes I can see what's behind them in their own heaven, I guess. And there's things I can't control, especially like when spirits will come. I've seen spirits in full apparition, things I can't explain. But then, but I like doing this kind of work because I feel like I can control it. But there are times where I can't. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. So you actually, I was looking through your fan page that everyone could look at through Facebook under I believe it's Big Sky Medium, correct?
Yes, Big Sky Medium on Facebook. So you can always find me.
Right. So I noticed when you talked about transcribing, so that's like you're just like getting little messages and you write them down quick.
Sorry,
you're fine. You're fine.
My dogs. I got puppies, so if you hear noises, I'm sorry.
So I've got kids, so it's the same thing. We're gonna go through the same. So when you're transcribing, so it's like you're just jotting down notes so you can relay the message to the person, or it's just how does it work for you? I'm trying to understand I'm so
And
curious
it's really
about the
hard
subject.
to explain how this works. I can do readings just like right here, like if I'm doing with you,
Right.
but I find it more easier for me and more real for me is when I'm doing it this way, because I feel like I don't have as many accidents once, or or people say I don't want to think I'm using my imagination.
Right.
So but when I look at the tip of the pen when it goes on the paper, if you think of that those records with the needle, that's kind of where I get the energy, and that's where I'm getting the messages.
The vinyl records, right?
Yeah, the vinyl
All right.
records. That's kind of how I can best describe it. Because there'll be times where I'll be doing a phone reading with somebody, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling like I don't want to talk. And it's the energy I'm picking up from that spirit. And I'll say, your dad didn't like to talk much when he was alive. And they're like, no, he didn't. So that would just validate that too.
Okay. Now you mentioned before that you're a psychic medium, but that not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychics.
Yes.
How would you explain that to somebody who's just like new to this, or just has trouble understanding it?
So, anybody can develop their psychic intuition, I think, because I know that's ingrained in all of us. I really do believe that. People, there's some people that practice tarot cards. There's some people that, just do certain things to just start developing quicker, But mediumship, I think the true mediumship is when you're born with it. You're haunted your whole life, if that makes sense. You just remember so many weird things happen that you tell your friends or your family, and you just learn to be quiet about it, and you stuff all that stuff inside. Even as an adult, you try to get degrees, live a normal life, but you're not normal compared to other people. But you try to. But that's the best I can explain it. That makes sense. I hope.
No, yeah, no. I mean, to me, it does. Hopefully, to the listeners, it does also. I've had my own experiences where sometimes you see things or you witness things, and I understand you just keep it to yourself because you don't want people to think you're either making it up or you're crazy, or how people just want an explanation for everything. And I truly believe there are things you just cannot explain. It's just you can't put it into words. Like for me, a daily occurrence that happens is that it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm at my job or something, I always see every day the numbers 9/11 and 11/11.
I always get the 11/11.
I mean, and I've looked up online, and I get so many different explanations to what that means. And it's curious. You just said you see 11/11. What do you think that means?
I'm starting to wonder sometimes if it means something different for each person. That's why there's always those different things when you look online. But for me, every time I see the 11/11, it tells me it's kind of basically for me that I'm on the right track of where I need to be going, that I'm going to be learning something more spiritual. That's where I kind of look at it. Like I'm developing more into this craft, or whatever you want to call it, my gift. And then That's why I look at it. And I believe that when you start seeing that, that means you're right where you need to be in this life, and you're doing what you need to be doing.
All right. I mean, it happens like even when I'm at home, I'll look at my phone for just randomly, and it's the 11/11, and I'm like, sometimes I think, okay, well, if it's at my job at that certain time, I'm supposed to be doing something. But even when I'm not even at work, it just pops up. So I'm constantly like trying to see, okay, what's the message from whatever it is that's trying to contact me? Let me know, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be doing something else? I mean, it's just,
I don't know. See, everybody asks me sometimes what these numbers mean, and I don't know unless I do like a really good reading on somebody, because there's so many of different numbers out there, and I don't study them all. But I do know though, like 111 or 11/11, that like you're right where you need to be. I mean, I think that's really good when you start seeing that quite a bit. 9/11, I don't remember what that would mean, but I've heard people tell me a few times that they've gotten that a few times. I don't think I'm getting that very much.
Yeah, I know people associate that with with 9/11, with the event that happened, but I've got a funny feeling there's something else with that, because it's just constant.
And it's what happens as your spirit guides, your angel, that's what you want to call the universe. That's what comes through, and that's what's setting you where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that. It's just a matter of finding out what that is. Again, it can get frustrating. So do you remember the first time you were able to relay a message from someone on the other side to a person?
I was in high school one time, and my mom's used to go to church all the time. I'm Catholic. Well, she was in the choir, and one of her friends, she was an older lady, she died. And I wasn't close to that lady, but I remember her. But when that night I was going to go to bed, I seen her in my vision, and as I was getting ready to go to bed, and it was so crazy because she was right there in my face, and she goes, "Tell your mom I'm okay. Tell her everything is fine." So that was the very first time I remember have that happening. But I've always had family and relatives that come through in dreams quite a bit, and that's pretty normal for a lot of people. But the vision of that time is what really got to me. That's why I wondered about that for a while.
And what motivated you to develop your gift? You know, like actually take a course in it, because you are a certified psychic medium, correct?
Yes, I am. So it's a kind of it's a long, really, I don't want to get too much into it, but I'll try to get it down as slower as I can. So
We've got all the time you want.
Okay. So it's this gift is basically, when I had it, I've kind of learned that I had this gift and I didn't know how to use it, but I knew I needed to go somewhere with it. And there were things in my life that were turning, that were unexplainable, that I was noticing that, I'm like this, this boom, boom, boom. And like, for instance, remember that voice I was talking about, that man's voice that was in my inner ear?
Yes.
Well, my whole life, I continue to have weird things with me, a lot of weird things going on. And I think it was about maybe 7 or 8 years, maybe less than that. But we were in Spokane, Washington, and there was like a amusement park there with a water park. So we were out swimming and stuff with, and then my family said, "We're going to go grab some eat. Just you stand, watch our stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I get out and sit on the little beach and just get, try to warm up. And then all of a sudden that voice came back, and I haven't heard that voice since the time I was almost kidnapped. And it said, "Paul, how have you been?" Now, at first I was kind of shocked, but then I looked around, there was not one man around me. They're all kids and women screaming everywhere. And it kind of blew my mind. So from that time on, things were going on with me that I can't explain, weird things and things that were kind of leading me up to where I need to be. And I think I asked my friend one time, I said, I know I'm a medium, but I don't know how to work with it. And he said, "Well, there's a lady in town that she's doing a spiritual development course. And the course has been scientifically proven through this, the spiritual movement, I guess, at that time." So I was interested. So I took the course, and it was a very long course. I think it was like 4 or 5 months. And when I took it, the teacher there would get so mad at me. She would say, "It took me 26 years to get where I'm at, but you've already have this. You already have this gift." And I said, "Well, she'd always say that, but I would say, I'm just here because I want to understand the reason. I want to know the truth. I want to know what I'm seeing. When somebody comes to me, I want them to understand what the truth is, not something made up, of the galaxies or, of aliens or some kind of, some people just make stuff up." So she was, and so I took the course, and I was just like, wow. And from the day after that happened, I just kept getting images that I'm going to start doing small groups of readings. And I have been, I used to travel around Montana, just about 15 to 20 people. But now I'm going to be doing a live event at a theater here in town with about, I think the seats have 400 people in it. So it's kind of moving on up now. And then I might have my own, and I also have my own radio show I do on Sundays, and here in Billings, and I do that. It's my way of giving back to the community. And then on my page, I do free readings also. So it keeps me going.
No, absolutely. That's how I ran into you, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
So when we talk about, we talked about the medium, some of the medium parts of it. As far as being psychic, do you also feel like, do you get like a gut feeling or a hunch, or do you hear like a voice also in that part of it to become, to how can I say it, to use your psychic abilities? Is it like a nudge, or is it like a voice also?
So I consider myself more of a medium than a psychic, if that makes sense, because I'm more in tap with, I guess I do more mediumship than I do psychic stuff. The psychic stuff within me, when it happens, I get the intuition, I see visions. Sometimes, like, I remember one time I'd always, like, if I'm in my kitchen window, I kept getting this vision of my friend stopping by. He moved far away, and then I'm thinking, I wasn't thinking much of him, I'm thinking it's my imagination. And then one day I looked out the window, and here he comes, and it was so weird. But that's how it works with me. But a lot of times, if I want to connect with, if I need answers, I'll connect with my spirit guide, and it's just right there. Everything's boom, boom, boom. My spirit, I work with the higher level, higher vibration. I'm always in prayer mode all the time. So if I'm going to a house and I have to do a reading for somebody and it's not safe, he'll let me know. He'll like, you need to, there's something dark there. And I'm like, what do you mean? Is it like a malevolent, or is it demonic? And he'll say it's demonic, be careful. So that won't, and then I'm like, okay, then I back up. So I usually, before I do like a house reading, so I always want to check in with my spirit guide, because I don't know if I'm going to walk into something I don't know about.
So Is there a difference between malevolent and demonic? Like, obviously, demonic sounds much worse.
Yeah, it
Is
is,
there a
and it's rare.
difference?
Yes, demonic is rare, but it's. I believe it's real because I've experienced, I've seen it. Now, malevolent would be, I consider malevolent are like earthbound spirits. Those are the spirits that don't cross over. They choose to, you know, haunt places, haunt people. They, you know, they are attachments. They grab your energy. You know, all those kind of things. Those are basically malevolent. A lot of people can get rid of them, but demonic, you know, you probably need like a medicine doctor or a priest or somebody. I wouldn't trust many mediums to do it because people who are open like us shouldn't be working with or dealing with anything dark like that.
Because
So
they
I
can
just want
come
to stay
through,
away from
right?
that.
They
What's
can
that?
come. They can be uninvited and come through, and
Oh yeah, yeah. Because we have what do they call it? We all have chakras on us, if you know what the chakras are, and they're just
yeah,
basically
yeah.
portals amongst us. And I kind of believe that, you know, sometimes certain things can go into those portals if they're open, and we, you know, gotta be careful with those. Make sure they're always closed.
So when we're talking about when you prepare for either reading or to work in the spirit world, do you rely more on prayer? Do you meditate? Do you combine them? How do you get into that? I guess you can say the zone to
Yeah.
get prepared.
And all real good mediums always have to prepare yourselves. We don't walk around all the time in mediumship because it drains us. It's very draining. Um, Even I watched an episode one time with Therese Caputo on it. She even prepares herself. She doesn't walk around like that all the
Yeah.
time either. She has. I mean, that's what's Hollywood. It makes it look like we're walking into it like that's what we do, but we don't. So what I do, I do that exactly what you're talking about. I'll meditate for about 15 to 20 minutes, but at the same time, I'll go and do my prayers because I always like to keep my ego at bay. I think some of the mediums or psychics, once they start using that ego, spirit and ego don't work together. It clashes, and that's why you don't get really good readings because people, they always think it's about them, and it's not about them. It's because you're the one delivering the message to the people.
Yeah, you're making a lot of sense right now. I've had my own experiences, and this one's going to be, I think, the most recent. Um, Before this whole pandemic occurred, I did get sick around December before all the shutdown. So we shut down like in March. So this was December before. I got sick, and then something told me, go to church, pray, something is coming.
Yeah.
So I went on my own. I didn't tell my wife anything. I came back and I told my wife. Well, she says, where do you go? I said, well, I went to church because I felt something I needed to do. I need to prepare for what's coming. She said, well, what's coming? I said, I don't know. But we need to prepare. And I always had that nudge. And a couple of days later, those first, news reports coming out of China about, and I go, babe, I think this is it. So when she saw me preparing, and I'm like, I didn't know. I just felt it. You know what I mean?
It's your spirit guide, or you want to call your family, or either one, but they're warning you, and you're sensitive to pick up on it, and you knew what you needed to do. And that's a very good thing because some people don't follow that. I've been telling people for years there's something big coming up right before this happened, and I go, I don't want to do future readings, but unless my spirit guide is pushing me, I'm going to tell you. But right now, I'm saying it's something to kind of worry about, but it's not the end of the world. But we got to be careful with whatever was coming. And I didn't know what it was either because I don't like doing future readings because that's not what I do. But when it did happen, my spirit guide was pushing me, and then one day I did. I decided to do that, and I just kind of wrote it all down, and then I got in trouble on Facebook because you're not supposed to talk about the COVID thing on there like that, and we got banned for a couple months. It was really weird. But when people were reading that later on, they were saying, Paul, that was very accurate to a T, and I go, well, I think it was just made. I mean, I don't do a lot of future readings, but I do that because if I feel like I'm being pushed, it's because there's information that people need to know about.
So have you ever been like, I know doing these readings and you get tired. Do you know where that comes from? Like the reason why you get so tired after working with readings and your work?
It's a lot of it's because it's an energy between me and what you call the spirit, or sometimes it's through other people. It's like it's a transfer of energy, and there's a lot of good people in this world that they died, but they take a little bit more than what they need out of me at times too. There's some there, but I like doing readings where if there's a spirit that comes through and they like to laugh or they joke and it's funny, and because it helps me out a little bit. But even though when I ground myself as much as I can right before reading, I still get drained. I can only do this kind of work part-time because if I do it full-time, there's no way I can do it. I burn myself out so quick, and because I love what I do, but I don't want to burn myself out, or I don't want to do this anymore because it just takes so much out of you. and that's why I do my readings in the evening, because I won't do many during the day, because I want to get everything done during the day if I have to, and not get drained and be late. It just kind of gives you that lazy feeling, like you're just. And the only way I can get out of it is if I take a nap, or if I meditate, or if it's really nice outside and I go outside, sit out in the sun, and then I'm okay. I just need to get that back within me again. Sometimes coffee helps.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard psychics and mediums, they go outside and they ground themselves. You know, they touch the earth, and that kind of helps them. I don't know if you ever tried that. I mean, obviously, I'm not a psychic or a medium, but I have heard that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll go outside with my bare feet. In fact, I do it a lot with my dogs. I try to imagine using my feet as roots and just absorbing what you can and bring it in you, and it does help to a point. But you know, it's always been, even though no matter what happens, I still get drained.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for getting tired. I mean, sometimes I get tired, and I know I don't do anywhere near what you do. So I know Hollywood has had a hand in, I don't want to say over sensationalized, but they make things very interesting on the screen and on TV and all these shows with like ghost hunters, and they tend to, some of it's staged. It's like obvious.
Oh yeah.
What is like the closest thing that you've seen either in the movies or on TV where you go, yeah, that's pretty close. Not quite there, but that's pretty close to what I've experienced.
But before you answer that, let me just say something really quick. I'm not big on those people that go and videotape ghosts or do those ghost hunting, because a lot of these people, these ghost tours, will keep going back and keep going to these places, and spirits are basically humans, and they still have feelings on the other side if they haven't crossed over. You keep going into their house, after a while they get angry and they're going to attack, and then people are like, oh, we got a demon in the house. Well, it's not always a demon. You're being disrespectful. Nobody's asking permission to go into their space. And you get angry too. So that's what happens. But it's hard to say. I've seen a lot of those ghost shows, and I still watch them sometimes, and I'm still, even there's certain ones, I don't want to say any of the shows on here, but there's some of them on there I think are rigged, honestly. I've heard there's one person that likes to do a Ouija board to start getting everything all worked up. And then he goes, and his crew goes in there, and I don't think that's very positive to do that too, because you don't know who you're communicating with, especially in the house. You could be opening up portals as well. And I think for me, when I was a kid, I watched the Amityville Horror Show, and I think it hit hard for me. And then as I got older, I was trying to listen. I was reading the negative and the positive side of it, because they were trying to get out because they owned a mortgage and all that stuff. And then at the same time, basically there was just a whole bunch of energy that was just locked in that house, and there was that murder with it. It was supposedly built on an Indian burial ground. After that murder happened, the Lutzes moved in, and the dad was supposedly playing with the occult. You're going to have a lot of stuff like that, and it's all negative. It's going to start building up, and yeah, you're going to have issues like that. I've read that family, once they moved out of there, that whatever the curse was, followed them all the way to another place. So it just followed them. And so other people that moved in there supposedly never had any. So sometimes when I look into those things like that, I wonder if, the people were haunted and not the house.
So you think that was more of an attachment? So not so much the house, but the family.
Yes. Like a curse or attachment.
So kind of like the movie Poltergeist, huh? It doesn't matter where they went, activity followed them.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, a poltergeist is something. I've dealt with poltergeists, and it's not good. And I think my first experience is when a lady told me she wanted me to come to her house, and my spirit guide kept saying, "Be careful." Well, I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, "Oh, I can handle this." I walk in this house, and she goes, "Do you feel anything in here?" And I go, I'm getting, there's just so much feeling. I'm seeing things. I'm getting things, but I can't understand what I'm seeing. And I remember looking towards the wall, and I could see a cat's tail. You know how the cat's tail curves? Yeah. And it starts walking behind these, I don't know what, these boxes. And I'm looking at the lady, and I go, "You have a cat back there with a brown or black tail?" And she goes, "No, my cats are locked up in the other room." And so we went to go back there, and there's nothing there. Well, as I'm starting to talk with her, I'm telling her about some of the pictures on her house, and I'm like, "You got to get rid of some. You got some. What do you have pictures of demons on your wall?" And she goes, "Well, my ex-boyfriend who died, he was a tattoo artist." And I said, "Well, I think this feeds into their ego, and this is one of the reasons why you're having issues. You got to quit doing drugs and alcohol, because these things feed into that energy. It's their food for them." Well, we started going around the house, and we were smudging, and I should have known better. We went. into the garage, and above the garage there's like a an little attic area where there was one chair with a whole bunch of boxes up there. And as I'm smudging that area, because I can feel something really dark there, we heard something hiss at us, and it was very demonic. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. So as we're going down the stairs, we go back to the living room, and my notepad was laying on the middle of the floor with my pen. And I remember looking up, and every picture in that house was turned upside down, except for the demon one. And there was a mask that wasn't, and it was so weird. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't. Even when I was outside smudging, I saw things jumping in the trees. I said, I don't want to do this because I can't take care of this. I go, when it becomes a poltergeist, you have to starve them. That means you need to start going to church. You need to work on your own spirituality, and you need to start meditating, quit doing these negative things within yourself because they're eating that. And so, and she went to the church. The priest came and I guess blessed the house. It stopped for a while, but I think a year or two later, she messaged me and she goes, Paul, can you look at this video? And I can tell it's kind of like the phone was right by her foot, and I could see like fireworks going off. You can hear that in the background. Mm-hmm. But then I heard this deep rumbling, demonic growling this whole time. And then she messaged me and she goes, what is that? And I said, that's coming from you. I go, you need to get back to that priest, but you won't. I go, I cannot go back to that house after I've already done the reading. I won't go back there because it's going to end up doing something to me, and I don't want to do it. So I don't know whatever happened to her after that.
That's not good. I mean, honestly, they say the drugs and alcohol, they do lower your vibrations, and it does tend for things to come in. And that didn't sound like a good deal at all.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like one of my first experiences with that kind of crazy stuff. And that's why I always double check anymore where I'm going. And it's creepy.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, they have so many different history and culture with religions, and it's just full of all that spiritual energy. And I remember one time, I was a professional wrestler, and I was training, and we were training up in the mountains, that's where the school was. And he was I guess you can say a witch doctor. He was like a santero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he always had a cigar, and he was always smoking, but he was a great trainer. So the ring was outside, and you have this just high grass, and it was just in the mountains, trees. And it was late at night, and the wrestlers were in the ring. We were training. We were looking at the stars, and the trainer comes up and he says, "Are you guys leaving soon?" And we said, joking around, "Why are you throwing us out?" And he goes, "Not me, them." And when he points to the bushes, we can see Taino Indians just walking. I remember clear as day. It was a full moon, and you can see them walking. And it wasn't people. They were dressed as the natives of the island back in the 1600s. And I couldn't believe, none of us, and it wasn't just me, it was four of us. We saw it. We could not believe what we were seeing. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Those are warriors protecting their land. Now, I've been on a reservation here. I think it was the Crow reservation, and it happened to me twice. Every time I go there, I see I believe you saw what you saw in your eyes, but what I see is my third eye, and I see these Native Americans on these big horses all the time, and they're all warriors protecting their land. Every time I'm there, I point them out. I go, I know they're there. I see them right there. And a lot of that land is very, I think it's because it's part of who they are. So they stick with that land and they protect that land as much as they can. But you did see that. And that's exactly what they were there for, protect.
Yeah, I don't know if we were able to see it just because they wanted us to know that they were there, or if because it was a full moon. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, you might have seen it because the full moon has a lot of weird effects on the spiritual stuff. I've taken a picture of the full moon one time, and weird, like the aura around the moon, I've seen faces come out of that and other things I can't explain.
Oh, now that you say that, I've never said this publicly, so that this is an exclusive. I was with a cousin of mine back home, and he wanted to try out his new camera. It was when the first digital camera started to come out. I believe it was 2003, 2004. And he's about to take a picture of the moon, and his daughter says, "Look at that." He took a picture of the moon. We never checked it. A couple of days later, he calls me up like at 2 a.m. He says, "I need you to come over here right now." And I go over there, and he says, "Tell me what you see." And when we were looking at the sky, it was the moon and a star under it. When we looked at the picture, there was an angel. I swear to you.
Wow,
If you want, I can send you that picture so you can take a look at it if
that'd
I
be
look it up.
awesome.
It was just, and it wasn't like a angel like we know. It was light, but you can see three faces on it. And
Yeah,
I
was
was
it
just
like
flabbergasted.
around the halo of the moon? Is that when you kind of seen it?
No, from what we can tell on the picture, you can see a little bit of a halo, and he was like, or it was below it. And it
Wow.
was just, I have it hidden every time I feel like I doubt or I feel weird. I take a look at that picture to remind me. And he says, maybe that's what his daughter was saying. Look at that.
Yeah,
And
she picked up on it.
she picked up on it. And this was years ago. This was almost 20 years ago. And I still have that picture. And my cousin cannot do Photoshop. I mean, he's lucky he took the picture. That's how much he knows with technology. And it was just an experience. And I'm like, it's little things like that to let you know that there's something else out there. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I think that angel was there meant for somebody at that moment. But I don't know who it was for. It was for you or somebody. But yeah, I totally believe in that.
I'll see if I can find the digital version. I'll send it to you so you can take a look at it.
The one if you want, I'll send one if I can ever find the one I got. But I posted on my page a while ago. But I just got done doing a reading with this lady, and she was talking because she's Native American, and she was talking about the bear. Something with there was a story behind the bear, and there was certain other things I couldn't remember. Hey, I think there was it's like buffalo or something else she was talking about. It's had to do with her culture or something. Well, I just got tired and I was bringing my dogs out and I look out and I thought that was a cool looking moon. It was like a full moon. And maybe, I don't know what made me want to take a picture of it, but I remember taking two pictures. Well, the first one turned out normal around the aura. Well, the second one, I seen a face of looked like a older Native American with, you can tell with the nose, eyes, and mouth.
Right.
And it was and I'm like, oh my gosh. So the more I started looking into it, you can see a buffalo, but then you see a bear. And it was almost like, it's almost like I was, I don't know what that transference is of what I just had that conversation or that reading with that lady. And then all of a sudden it has to do with that moon when I took the picture. I can't explain that, but there's something, maybe it was stuck in my aura. I don't know. And I took the picture. I can't explain it. I mean, it still baffles me. I'll show you that picture too. And I think the moon has something to do with that. When you take pictures like around the moon, I believe that, just like what you were saying, there's things that can come out of that.
I mean, I've researched online, like I've looked, pictures of angels, and I'm like, that doesn't look like what I saw. Or
angels don't always wear wings. Wings.
It's like, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like a feathery what we perceive as what we know.
Yeah.
It was just like light, and there wasn't like any light posts. And it's Puerto Rico, so it's very dark, So it's like, I don't see how that image was able to be influenced by anything else other than we caught something randomly by accident, or maybe it wasn't by accident. I have no idea.
I think what you caught was an angel, because if it's of light, then I believe that. Totally. I believe that.
It is. When I find it, I will send you a copy of it.
Awesome.
So you can take a look and you can give me your expert opinion.
Thank you.
I've heard in your readings where you talk about personal heaven. Now, I know everyone, and we're not trying to offend or impose any beliefs, but that's not, I guess you can say, the norm. If you a normal person that goes to church, could you explain that a little bit? If there's a personal heaven. When you talked about personal heaven, does that apply like to a personal hell? Is purgatory when they don't cross over? Is that personal hell? How do you think this works?
So from my readings and what I'm told by my spirit guide and from the course I've taken, I tell people all the time, I'm just a messenger. I don't try to change people's views, and I try to get that really important so everybody understands that. Because we all have our own views and what we know and what we think of heaven and hell are like. So first of all, when I connected one time, I asked my spirit guide. Even my teaching said there was no hell. So I asked my spirit guide, and he said there's no hell. And I said, well, does everybody go to heaven? He goes, no. And I go, explain this to me, because in the course it says there's the earth, and then there's 3 higher realms and there's 3 lower realms. So what does that mean? And he said, well, hell hasn't been created yet, but there is a form like hell, and it's at the very bottom of that lower realm. So the top realm would be considered like a purgatory. Now, purgatory is a place where we have that second chance that we can still redeem ourselves, and get back with God. And, we pray and But I'm also told that each layer gets colder and darker. And the second one, I'm not sure. I didn't get much information on that. But the third one, I would probably say Adolf Hitler. All these sociopaths. Really dark people go there. And I don't want to sound churchy or anything, and I don't want to say I want to say nothing against people that don't believe in God, because I'm not trying to hear to say who goes to heaven and who goes to hell, because I'm not God. I'll never pretend to be God, or anything like that. I always tell people that all the time. I'm just telling you with my experiences. So people that are that don't believe in God, that are evil, go to like one of the two. I mean, one of those realms. I don't know. Is what I've been told. A lot of narcissistic people go to the. I've been told to the top. Lower realm, that purgatory, I guess, because they know what they were doing. They know they're messing people, they're dividing people, they're causing drama. They're the mean, those mean-spirited people, the psychopaths and sociopaths. Let me see here. The heaven, I'm told, is I think the highest level of heaven is where all the saints go, all the holy people, the ones that are enlightened go to heaven, the top one. The other two, I think, are wherever God wants to put us at that time. People who are trapped on this earth, they make that decision because we all have that free will, what we want to do. God never takes that away from us. Nobody forces us to hell or forces us to heaven. So we can go into the light if we choose to. Some people, when you hear people laying in the doctor's office and their bodies are floating up, they can still, and if they know how, they can still fight that and still come down here. We have that free will. Nobody's pushing us, or does that make sense, or pulling us to go anywhere.
Right.
Even demons will pretend to be somebody to attract another spirit to bring them down to hell, because they know they have that free will. They can't force you until they get down to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually. To me.
I'm always hoping I can make sense when I talk about these things of what I've been told, because it sounds confusing at times.
Well, you know what? It's everyone's on their own journey, and I guess
Yes.
information is told to us in a way that we can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't understand it, I guess it's our job to keep searching until we do.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know if I even have all the answers. I'm just being told what I was told in my readings, but I do. But I don't think all what do you call people that don't believe in God, and they don't go down there. I think that there's some that do go to heaven. I think there's redemption. I do believe God's very merciful. Like people would say, well, how do you know my son's in heaven because he committed suicide? I go, because I only connect with people in higher realms. I don't connect with those lower realms. I go, if I wanted to connect with those lower realms, I would have to be very depressed, anger, drinking, doing drugs, and I'd be doing Ouija boards in the cult. That's how my energy would probably go to that, and I don't want to go ever do that. My energy, I always check myself before I do readings.
Yeah, I mean it's choice,
Mm-hmm.
So I think people, I guess how you focus your energy is how the production is, so like when we were talking about the shows, that there's this certain person that plays with the Ouija board, and I've never had a good experience with the Ouija board ever, and it was only one, and that was enough for me.
I've got a lot of stories on the Ouija board, but I think I played with them when I was younger, and it scared me so bad I never want to mess with it, because I think the energy that came out of that, I just remembered it was weird. But I've had people come to me and message me and they can't get rid of it because they're addicted to it, and that's how you know it's also evil. When something becomes addicted like that, you don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, I guess it's like a drug. Like it's an energy high or low depending on how that person, I guess, would receive it.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I steer away from it. I mean, even sometimes you walk into a toy store, I'm like, really, they're selling that?
Somebody this story the other day. I was walking, I think I was in high school, or maybe I was in my 20s, but I was walking, I think it was Toys R Us, and we're in this area where the games were, and I stopped and I looked at I think it was my roommate. I said, something's not right. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, don't you feel that? And I was trying to figure out what was going on. Well, the bottom end cap, were nothing but those Ouija boards. So I looked and I'm like, there it is. I mean, that is creepy. I mean, how would I have known that? It's not right. I just, why would, and I think they do that. They sell those to kids so that they can, and once they get sold, and it's easier for the demons or the dark stuff to ensnare them, to lie to them, to deceive them. Now, people will say, well, I've done Ouija boards like most of my life, and I've never had any problem with them. And I go, well, I can't. All I'm saying is that they lie and they deceive you. You're only connecting with earthbound spirits and lower realm spirits. You're not connecting with anything up there. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you know? Like, I know some people want to talk to a loved one, and how do you know? I mean, it's not like you can see them like you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's very deceiving, and I guess that's how they come in. You get vulnerable because you're trusting what's talking to you,
Yeah,
and right through there, and people think it's a game, and
it's not. See,
I mean, no,
people will
go ahead.
message me and say, Paul, I don't know if I had a dream or if my cousin's in hell or purgatory or whatever, but so asking questions, I'm like, did he come to you smiling? Or tell me what the dream was about. And if they come to you smiling, looking young, then then more than likely they're in heaven. They're trying to let you know they're okay. But if they're coming to you and they're just yelling at you and they're blaming you, or they're, it's just dark, it's not, it's either your subconscious or it's probably your spirit that's coming up from somewhere else.
Yeah,
But
trying to keep that energy low so they can keep coming in.
yes, exactly. So you understand that. You understand that about the whole energy thing. It's true. You have that spiritual energy. You need to always keep your higher, like laughter, praying, meditation keeps that energy high up here. Eating right, exercising keeps it up here. That lower energy is drinking, addictions, being negative all the time, rumors, being mean, abusive. All that stuff is that lower energy. You want to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, and it's very easy to fall into that because sometimes that's easier to do than trying to keep that energy up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I get mad at myself when that happens. I'm like,
we're all human. I think that's when God talks about sin. Sometimes I think the sin is what we look at as sin is basically what we look at. I mean, what could be considered as lower energy as well. The things that we shouldn't be, bringing to ourselves, because like attracts like. Our energy is out there. So we got to bring that good karma back by loving ourselves and doing good things for ourselves and other people. When we start bringing ourselves down, putting ourselves down, laughing at people, making fun of people, just hating on things, we're going to get that right back at us. And we're going to wonder, why isn't anything ever right in my life? And I get that quite a bit with people. We do it to ourselves.
Yeah, it's funny because my sister-in-law, they had moved into a new house. And she told me, can you do me a favor? I go, sure. She goes, can you go in tell me if you feel anything? And I'm like, me? Just go in and see if you feel anything. So I'm like, it feels weird. She goes, well, can you bless the house? I'm like, I'm not anybody. What do you know? So I always have some, I always say I'm Catholic. I keep a lot of traditions. So I always have some holy water and, I said a little prayer but it's weird that sometimes people come to me and I'm like, I'm not, and I just go in and feel stuff. I'm not a lightning rod for the message. It's just I get glimpses of it.
I believe you. I know you have. It sounds like you have some kind of ability within yourself too. A little bit. It sounds like maybe it seems like you get in touch with it at times. So that makes sense. Just by what you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I know my on my mom's side of the family, that had relatives that were sensitive to certain things, but I never met them, so I wouldn't know personally. I do remember. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. You're good.
I do remember when I did live back home in Puerto Rico. The house that we lived in there was something there, and it was I know shadow figures are popular right now. Those shadow entities, right?
Those are earthbound spirits. Yeah.
So it would always, when that trainer, I asked him to come to my house. So when we saw the Indians, the Native Americans, the Taino Indians, he says, yeah, I just saw something go into your room. And I always had that feeling of that when you're going to sleep, that sleep paralysis, but I always thought it was something else. And he
I know what that is.
So I asked him, I said, what are you seeing? He says, the best way I can explain it to you is you have the Undertaker in the house. I know the wrestler that he was big and he was dark and you couldn't really see his face. So he did a blessing. He said, but that thing's gonna come back because it's attached to you and to your family. So when I moved out, it stopped for me. But when my brother went in and moved into that room, it started with him.
Wow, it's about control of that spirit. Some of these spirits don't like to leave, and there's some that like to go. My experience, a lot of them are begging me to go because they're stuck for some reason. But you get some that are just so negative. It's just they were controlling in life, like they were narcissistic, they were mean, they were bullies. They didn't care about anybody but themselves. That's the kind of ones that I like. Sounds like kind of like what you would have had it in your house. Is what I kind of would see somebody like that. And they want to scare people. Now, when they scare people, they need that negative energy. That's their food. That's what keeps them going. That's their supply. And I try to remind people, like when we're cleansing houses, and you start getting a little bit scared, you got to switch that mode and start being assertive and start cussing and telling them to get the H out of your house, get the F out, whatever you got to say to get it out of your house and mean it, because that's that energy needs to help push that out and then go back to praying. But once you get that assertiveness, it's going to switch to that fear is going to go away, and that assertiveness is going to go there. You don't want to be scared when you're doing this, because they'll pick up on it really quick.
Yeah, I mean, I do get sleep paralysis still, but I pray my way out of it, if that makes any sense. I'll say.
I've done it too, and I've had it one time with me. But let me tell you something that's. Do you have pets or little kids in your house?
I have a cat and I have 2 children. Yes. Okay,
I was gonna say, sometimes a bowl of salt under your bed will help a little bit. The sleep paralysis. Some people will say that it's something neurological in our brains. Yeah. I don't believe that. It's something that's in my experience and from my readings and other people's readings I've done. It's not. It's a spirit that will hold you down. It's a spirit that's trying to get fear. It's trying to feed it off of you, and it can just ruin your whole week. Just having just one experience of something like that, and you come out thinking very confused about it. It doesn't make no sense. I've had it one time, and I've had marks on my body. And this is like in my 20s, and I knew what I was doing. I shouldn't have been doing that. I was partying a lot when I was younger, and I had tarot cards too, and I wasn't protecting myself. So I didn't at the time, and I didn't care. And I think what happened was I was opening myself up, and then I started having that stuff happen to me. That's just only how it happened to me. But praying is going exactly what you said. If you can go back to, if I'm praying, one time I just remember thinking of the cross, and then it let go. But I think it's the closer you are with God, the more these things don't like it, and eventually, it's not forever. Eventually, it's the thing. This thing is going to go.
Yeah, I've always been afraid, like, if it stops with me, is it going to start messing with my kids? Because that's the last straw for me if that were to happen. And sometimes my son, he's 5, and he'll say, "There's a monster in the window," or "There's a man there." I know my daughter told me once there was a man in the house.
So let me tell you, that's so funny. I was just going to say this before you brought this up. If you can put like a line of salt on all your window seals, all the way through your house, not even your bedroom and the kids' bedroom, everywhere. These things do like to jump through windows. I've seen them hop through windows. They follow people in the doors. So if you can put some over like the top of the door, the frame or something,
right.
The salt is a purifier, and spirits don't like it. They avoid it.
Both good and bad, or just like?
Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up. What's that?
Is it both good and bad spirits, or is it just the ones that are
it's
causing
negative?
trouble?
It's never a good spirit. It's never a good spirit. Yeah, these things are malevolent. I think they used to live. Sometimes I'm not to scare you. Sometimes it is demonic, but a lot of times it's just spirits that need that energy and to feed off of it. And it seems, I want to say that this spirit that's around you, I think, is always hanging around your house all the time. And it's probably not just your house; it's probably going down the neighborhood or something. But if your son has already seen it through the window, and you're already having that problem, I know exactly what that is, and I'd just say put salt on all the window. Like this, it could be table salt; it doesn't have to be specific salt, but just the line through all the window seals and over your door frames.
Yeah, I've never tried salt. I've tried sage. I've tried, praying and holy water, but I've never tried salt. I'm going to try that. See if
yes, that should help you. And the salt under your bed, I'd say would be awesome too. But I don't know, because you have cats and little kids. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I'll try it. I mean, let's see what happens. It hasn't happened in a while, but when it does, it's like I'm still here.
I don't think your house is haunted. I think it's just somebody that wanders around your neighborhood, and I think he's doing it to everybody in that neighborhood. Now, if you can protect your house, then he's going to eventually just leave you alone and probably bother somebody else.
Yeah, that's something. I'm going to try it. Paul.
Okay.
So whenever you've done a reading, has something negative tried to come through and just take it over?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it has yet, because I can't tell I can always, when I'm in an area, I can pick up if there's something negative. But over the phone, I can't tell. I'm sure this probably has happened. Let me see here. I'm trying to think of an example. I think that has happened before. Remember the house I told you where I was doing that reading where it had the poltergeist? Well, I was doing a reading for her boyfriend, that on the other side. But I look back on that, and I don't think that was him. I think that I was open that day and I should have known better. And I should have listened to my spirit guide at the time because I thought I knew everything at the time, and I didn't. And I think that could have been, I don't think that guy's spirit was at peace because he was drinking and he had a bad motorbike accident, I believe. And he died really hard and he suffered. And I think in the way he lived, I don't think he would have made it to I look back on that, I don't think he would have made it all the way up there. So I think that was probably a lie. I was deceived. So I learned my lesson.
Yeah, well, rookie mistake, I guess, right?
Yes.
You learned a lesson from that. I saw a video a couple of weeks ago on your page. It was, I'm pretty sure, remember, it was a child's funeral and there was a white balloon. Do you remember that video?
Oh, yes. I got a story on that one. My mom, when she passed away, my sister-in-law, my brother's house, it's hard to explain. They don't have central air. I mean, the air that doesn't push up from the ground. And it was like, I think they said it was like fall. So it was kind of getting cold, but none of the windows were open. So my sister-in-law had a couple balloons, and she had all her kids and her nieces and nephews write some special messages for their grandma. And so she put it over so much. She's told me she put that balloon over my mom's purse in the living room because my mom just passed away. And she said, Paul, she goes, I can't explain. No, it wasn't the purse. She goes, she put it over the TV. Sorry. She goes, Paul, I can't explain this. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, we woke up and that purse was, the closet was automatically open. We don't want to explain that because the closet's always closed right down the hall near our bed. And that purse, that balloon was over the purse. Well, there was no way for that. I mean, that's a long journey that goes all the way from, it's like a whole L turn to go into down there and then open the door up and put it over it. Nobody would have done that. Her kids were all too small to understand what was going on, and they were all asleep.
Yeah,
so
keep going.
I'm sorry.
No, continue.
I just find that stuff interesting, But anyway, I guess they. So she said that when they're all at the house, we're going to go to the grave, her graveyard, and they're all going to release the balloons there. Well, she said when she opened up the door, she felt like somebody was grabbed those balloons right out of her hand, and they all went up.
Wow. I mean, it's for those of you that haven't seen this video. I guess it's a toddler's funeral, and the mom is grieving, and this white balloon it's not pulled. You can tell no one's pulling on a string. It's just floating, and it goes to the mom.
Yeah, because it's not way up here. It's like down here.
Yeah, and it just surrounds her and it hugs her, and she's reacting to the book. I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I really could not. That's like right there is like proof that there's life after death. I mean, I don't think you can fake that because you can see the tears on those people's eyes. They're mourning. It's just I knew it was true. Yeah. Now we're getting close to October, and do you think that activity increases during that month because it's Halloween and Day of the Dead? Yeah. There's a lot of energy. Do you see an increase in activity during the weeks leading into those holidays?
I do, and I try not to do too much spiritual stuff around that time. I'm sure I'll just do my regular reads, but I don't go out and go to haunted houses. I try to stay away from that stuff, only because when people do this stuff, you get attachments, you get people following you. I kind of lay low in those days. That makes sense. Yeah. But I hear the stories later on what people will tell me, and I go, was it around Halloween or something? I'm like, yeah. So that veil is lifted up a little bit more for people, and you get the good and the bad that come through at that time. Yeah,
well, you do your radio show on Sundays, right?
Yes.
Halloween is on Sunday this year, so it might be interesting. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I don't want to keep. This is a great conversation. I'm having a lot of fun, but I don't want to keep. I know you're busy. I know you're probably tired. I don't want to keep taking any more of your time. For the listeners, where can they find you? Where are your social media accounts and your radio show? Where can they listen to it?
All right. So on the radio, it's Hot 101.9 FM. You can get that on your Alexa or on the app on the App Store. Now, you can always the easiest way to find me is if you type in Big Sky Medium. I'm on the social media. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on. Trying to think here now. The tip of my tongue because I was just looking at that spot a second ago.
And on Facebook, it's Big Sky Medium.
Yes, Big Sky Medium, and I'm on all those on Medium. If you type in Big Sky Medium, you're going to find me there. I'm also on Instagram. That's what I'm thinking. Instagram as well.
Instagram, yeah.
And if you just add me, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. He's got a lot of interesting photos and videos. It's just you're going to have fun looking at his social media accounts.
Thank you.
And
I like to keep it. I like to keep the Facebook one a little bit more educational wise for people too.
no, yes, absolutely. And I hear your dog barking a lot. Last question before I go. I wanted to ask you this. Is your dog really active like that? I know he's a puppy, but do you think they kind of also look into the spirit realm?
Oh yeah, my I have two dogs. One's a 2-year-old, and the other one's about 5 months old. The 2-year-old, he's very sensitive. His ears, he's a rat terror. His ears are always up. He's always looking around. There's been times where they spook me. Like my puppy will, if I'm on the recliner, he'll lean up and he'll look above my shoulder into the kitchen, and it kind of creeps me out. So I have to look. But I always double check with my spirit guide, and there's nothing here. But when they're young at that age, they get all weird about the smallest thing. So, but at the same time, I'm always kind of watching. My older dog, he was 17 and a half before, 17 and a half before he died. And that dog would pick up on everything. So I think, but I always kind of keep an eye on them when they do that stuff, because I don't know, everyone is assuming. I want to make sure.
You never know. Well,
Yes.
Paul, thank you so much for your time. This was a great
Thank you.
conversation. I hope we can have a part 2 sometime whenever
Me too.
we can.
Yes, definitely. Invite me.
Honestly, so that has been this episode for the Kevin Dagger Experiment. Your host, Kevin Dagger, Paul Cosino.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys in the next time. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that.